ladies, I am back with another video, and today I already know I am going to step on some toes. So I'm just going to go ahead and get this out. Um, if he doesn't think that you should have his last name, then neither should your children. Okay, and I'm talking about women who have actually bared children with men, but um, you're still boyfriend and girlfriend, or you're still in some type of entanglement or situationship or in a relationship, but you are, or maybe you're not in a relationship at all. But at this point, basically, the only thing that has you guys together is the child. So you are together. The child has his last name, but you do not have his last name, which means you're not married. And I kind of feel like, a lot of men will say, well, she's not marriage material. We're not ready to get married. But for some reason, she's not ready to be your wife, but she's ready to be the mother of your child. Because remember, this is a man's legacy, their child. This is something like their namesake, especially if it's a boy carrying the name and so forth. Because a woman, if she gets married, she will not carry the father's last name. So the reason why I say this is because so many women give this guy who's no good, and we're just talking about no good men or men who literally have no plans of ever marrying this person, but they want to keep having her reproduce his legacy. So let's just go ahead and say it. If he does not think you are good enough to have his last name, I'm not talking about the ring is on the finger, but then it stops there. But I mean, he's really not trying to make you have his last name. But you are good enough to be the host for his children if it's that type of man. Because there's some men. But we're talking about men who do not necessarily believe in marriage, men who have no point in ever marrying you. Not that there's something you did that broke off the engagement or broke off the relationship, but men who had no point. There was no point that they were going to ever marry you. There was no chance that they were going to marry you. No chance in the future that they plan on getting married to you, or otherwise just they don't believe in the whole marriage thing. Why should you give him your last name? Like, if you are calling him deadbeat, maybe he's not around. He's a father who's not around. He pretty much ghosted you and the child. He broke off the relationship with you and the child, or he left before you even gave birth to the child. Um, why does this child deserve his last name if he's just such a guy that's no good? Why the child should have your last name? Um, I just think that, so many men, they use having a child with a woman really just for attachment purposes, because he knows that she's always there. But we can't pretend like women are acting a certain way just out of the blue. The same way men have things that they've gone through, things they've seen in life. Maybe they saw a male and role model, or someone they've um, grew up with, whether it was a parent or a family member or a friend, or uncle, or just a man that they've known in their life, and how they treat the woman in their life, whether it's a mom or sister or a romantic partner. That shapes men, how they grow up and how they think about relationships and marriage. Same thing with women. And we just have this thing where we, especially, you know, like we have these men that just sit there and bash and attack women, and then it's same thing. We have these women that just sit here and bash men. I think it's time that we wake up and say, hey, we can change who we are. And if you change who you are, the people around you are going to change. And when I say the people around you, it means you may lose some people that are around you. The people who were your friends are not going to be your friends anymore. The people who you were in a relationship with won't be in a relationship with you. Because as you grow and mature, you're going to have to broaden your horizon and be around other people who is going to be on that same level. So if you are trying to be a woman who is growing and maturing, you can't be with the same deadbeat person. You can't be with the same person who's mistreating you, talking to you any kind of way, but you decide to still stay and still make more babies and more babies and more babies with this guy who doesn't even he doesn't even think you deserve his last name. but he keeps producing in you and you allow it. I mean, we're talking about women empowerment, and we have hundreds um, ways to create parenthood, like decide whether we want, 100 different types of birth control, different ways we can decide when we want to be a parent. And we just seem like, even though we have all of these things at our disposal, we decide to give our bodies away freely to people who do not deserve it, people who will not cherish it, people who do not love you, people who pretty much about hate you, okay? They don't like you. And we wonder why they're doing this to us. But they showed you the signs a long time ago that they don't want you. And they don't even really want the child. They just needed something to keep that attachment going, that those strings attached, so they can always get back to you when they need to. And you allow them back in your life. But we're sitting here talking about woman empowerment. I can do what I want with my body. And then you're mad that you got a guy who doesn't want you or the child. It's like, how are you any point high value? How do you add value to the people lives around you? How do you add value in your own life? You want people to have, you want the children to have your last name, but you don't want the woman to have your last name. And this isn't me coming from anger, because I'm married. Okay? So this isn't coming out of bitterness or anger, but this is coming out of frustration of seeing people I love, people I know, people I've seen, people I've read about. I mean, I sat here and read a letter about a guy who's saying he doesn't want to get married, but his girlfriend does. They have children, they're living together, they're playing house, but he doesn't want to have that piece of paper because he doesn't want it to change things. The only thing that would change would probably be him, because they're doing everything else that people do when they're married, except the piece of paper. But the fact that you before getting married, you only want to talk about what's going to happen when you get a divorce, and half you guys don't even have anything to give, okay? Like, you don't have life insurance, you don't have a high-paying job, you don't have anything. There's nothing at stake to lose. But I had to get to that point because I just see so many women with these men who do not want them, who do not care for them or the child. And we just keep giving these last names to the men who want nothing to do with them. So, give them your last name. And if you happen to get married, then you guys all change your name together. But why do you have to be the one going to the school with a different last name? And you're the one going here and going there and signing all these forms, and the man is no longer, he's not in your life like that, but you're signing all these forms to a child that has a different last name from you. And the man who should be there that's not there, the child has that person's last name. And that child will probably never see them, never have heard from them, and maybe only just get money from them, but no time, no love, no care. I don't want to have to go on the rant, but that's what I have to do. We gotta get, away from these MGTOW and these men who are just super red pill. Because again, like I said, there's nothing wrong with being enlightened. But when you get to this point where you're just bashing women, but you'll sleep with them, but you'll bash them. And then you turn around and say something's wrong with them. But you just keep pouring out all of this bitterness and hatred into a woman, and you're wondering why she has this spirit on her. And that's not even necessarily spiritual, like religiously. Yes, it can be that way. You're putting the spirit into her, but you're literally pouring a piece of yourself into her. And she's just walking around with all of this, and you're wondering why she has so much baggage. And so many women are with these guys who are just okay with pumping and dumping and ghosting and disappearing, and then you'll take him back. If this was your friend, would you recommend her being with a guy like this? Would you recommend her being with a guy who has no interest in her other than her assets, and then once he has a piece of her assets, he leaves? After depreciating her assets. So basically, he added no value to you, your life. All he created was a liability. emotional liability, physical liability, mental liability. Let's get to the point where we're only creating assets around us, because high valued men elevate the people around them. They add value to the people around them. High value women elevate the people around her. She had value to the people around her. So if the person that you're with is not getting better and not mature, then the question is, are you high value? Because if the people you're around are not elevating and are getting worse and not maturing and getting better and not becoming more enlightened, then what value are you adding? If your children are not getting better, if your life is not getting better, what value are you adding? If the man you're with is not elevating you, then he's not the man for you. Because a good man, a high value man, elevates. People think high value has to do with money. Yes, you may have high value in dollars, but what value are you adding to the lives of the people around you? Your children's lives. That's what it means to be married. And if you can't understand that, then you don't need to be married. And if it's a struggle for you and you're struggling now, you probably don't need to have a baby. And if you're struggling with your child, you don't need to have another child until you can be around people who are adding value to your life. All right, so that is it. I am out. So, love and peace to you.